This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, when we start thinking about different business ideas, the first thing that comes to our mind is, can we actually do that? And then the next question is, okay, I lost my slide. So the next question is, okay, our customers really want it as well, as much as we love the idea? And then the other question that comes to mind is, how much does it actually is going to cost us, and how much does it worth? So all these questions correspond to three different terminology, which is desirability, feasibility, and viability. And then a validated and successful venture is the one that kind of sits in the intersection of all these three terminologies. Based on some statistics that are out there, and one of the most updated one that we put together from a startup Toronto, top reasons that the startups fail is a lot contributing to market fit, market product fit, and also the financial problem. So if you look at the slides, and let me know if you cannot see my screen. So the 26%, look at that, that's massive. 26% of the reason a startup failed is because their business model is not viable. And then the next reason, which is 24%, is they run out of cash. So if you look at the pie chart on the left side, 41% of those are financial problems, and 25% are the market product fit. 22% other issues such as lack of focus, and then the other 20% contributes to having a bad team or not having like a co-founders that are kind of on the same page with you. So what we are going to do in this workshop, we are going to only focus on the right hand side of that pie chart. So we are going to start with the market product fit, because when I put this event out there, the participants, I asked them different questions when I put the tickets out there. And then most of those participants, they didn't have a business idea, or they just had a business idea and they wanted to start. So that's how we designed it. We thought maybe we could start with market product fit, which is the 25% of the problem, and then move to the financial problems next, which is the another 41% of the reasons a startup failed. So let me know if I'm going fast. Let me know if you have any questions. You can type. We can see your comments. We can see your questions here, and then interact with us. The traditional approach of starting a business has always been like, consult with your trusted allies. What does that mean? It means like, go talk to your friend, go talk to your family, and then right after that, write a business plan. So straight from an idea to the business plan, and a lot of other components to that journey in the traditional approach. But what does that traditional approach perceive is thinks that the entrepreneurial journey is just a straight line that goes from A, which is your idea, and then all the way to B, which is execution and having a great business. But that's actually not true, because the entrepreneurship journey is full of uncertainty. If you look at that chart, you understand what I'm saying. So the contradiction between that traditional model and then the reality makes us think, okay, how can we overcome that uncertainty? So I want to tell you that this whole idea generation and starting your business should be an iterative process. And what do we mean by that? We mean you have to start with the idea, build it, go test it, experiment it, and then from all those testing and experimentation, learn, get some insight, adapt it, and then go through this iterative process again and again. Okay. So we are going to apply the lean startup concepts here. The lean startup concept starts with it's a very lean process that doesn't have a lot of like fuss around it. As the name says, it's very lean, straightforward, clean, and straight to the point. So the first step for that process is start with generating your idea. So what is an idea? The idea is just a hypothesis, something that you think it's good. So the other thing that people start with thinking about the idea is they get stuck with their first idea. They just fall in love with it so much, and they think that there is only that one big idea that is out there. But it's not all about just having one idea. It's about thinking about a lot of possibilities that are out there. Because when you have more ideas, it means you have access to better ideas. And when you have better ideas, you will have access to better design. So try to expand your thinking and just don't stick to that one idea at the beginning. Just give yourself the chance to think and come up with a lot of different ideas. What I say, and no, not what I say, what I quote here from a lot of people, a lot of successful people, is the number one enemy for creativity is judgment. So try not to judge yourself at the beginning and then just expand your thinking. So I just want to quickly see if everyone is still with us. Yes. Okay, so we are going to talk about first step, which was the ideation technique. So ideation is just a fancy word for coming up with so many different ideas, or let's say crazy ideas, or we should go for the wild ideas, and then start to generate those ideas, and then we go through the process. Later on, we are going to have Armin as a guest speaker, that he's going to talk about how innovation can help you with this ideation process. So stick with us for that talk as well, as it's coming up. What is happening here? Okay. Yeah, remember we talked about more ideas, access to, but then it's gonna lead you to better ideas. So just be open. But then you might ask, okay, I'm gonna have like 10 ideas. I'm gonna go through the ideation process, which is some of those techniques is brainstorming. So you sit down and write all the things that's happening in your brain. I love the idea of putting them on the sticky note. And then from the sticky notes, you can go through and filter, maybe put them in different categories and see how they can kind of correspond together, and then come up with one box that all those sticky notes are together, and like, oh, this makes sense. This makes sense over this. So ideation has a different technique. So one of them is basically brainstorming. The other one is prototyping. So you prototype the idea in a very cheap and but fast approach that you can just quickly put it out there and see if that works, test it and get feedback. So prototyping is another ideation technique. But then when you go through all those ideation, you might think, okay, I can't stick to all these ideas. I need to pick one and then go through that iterative process. So we are going to show you how you can pick that one idea. The next step in the iterative process is design. So we are going to focus on avoid wasting our time and money with the idea that doesn't work, and start understanding our customer segment and see how we can create value for them. So that's how we can actually pick that one idea. The tools that we are going to use is value proposition canvas and the business model canvas to be able to choose that one idea. I'm sure you are familiar with all these canvases if you have worked on your ideas or you have heard it from different books or speakers, but stick with us. We are going to walk you through how it works. Any questions so far? Let me know if you have a question. I can unmute you or you can unmute yourself. Awesome. So it looks like we don't have any question. So everybody's going well. So the value proposition canvas, how does it work? So on the right-hand side, you have your customer segment, which is that lovely little circle. Your customer is in the middle of it, and then it's surrounded by its gains, pains, and customer jobs. We're going to walk you through all those components. And then on the left side, you have your value proposition, which is your gain creators, product and services that you are thinking about offering, and the pain reliever. So all those needs to kind of the value proposition needs to correspond to your customer segment. And the job of this canvas is to make sure that there is a fit between the product and services you are thinking about offering and your customer. So later on, when we go through the process, you will realize, oh, that lovely little circle that you went through, the value proposition corresponds to your business model canvas, and then the value proposition box corresponds to value proposition on the business model canvas. So let's go through the customer segment. Starting with customer jobs. The jobs is the outcome that the customer want to achieve. The pains is what they really, it's their struggle, what's their risk, what's their obstacles. And then the gains is what they're trying to achieve. So I want to give you a very, very simple example. I think I should pause here for a sec. And then go to the previous one. Sorry. So I want to give you a very simple example for the customer pains, gains, and jobs. So let's think that we want to cook a meal, right? So the job is the outcome. So what is the outcome? The outcome is we want to put the meal on the table and have something actually good to eat for dinner. But the pains are like, oh, I need to go get groceries, buy bread. I don't know what's happening to my slides, but you should be able to see the previous one. Sorry. Sorry, it's just technical. Yeah, so let's go back to that cooking example. So you want to cook a meal. So the outcome that you expect as a customer is to actually have something to eat for dinner. But the pain, as I said, you need to go through and buy the bread or all the ingredients that needs to go and then make actually that meal a meal to eat. And then the gain is what you really want to do, which is cooking. So if your business or the product and services you are thinking about offering is like creating a website that has all these lovely recipes or put all those recipes maybe on Pinterest, these are like the gains and pains and the customer job that you can think about. And then the customer jobs, we can dive into it a little deeper. They are categorized as functional jobs, social jobs, emotional, and supporting jobs. Functional jobs is like that cooking example. It's a function, you want to cook. Social jobs is like you want to maybe connect to your friends, maybe like get on the Facebook or Instagram and connect with those people in terms of your social jobs. Emotional job is like dating. You want to find your life partner and create a dating app. That's your product, and that's how you connect to the customer jobs on the emotional side. And then some supporting jobs. The customer pains, if we want to go really deep into those as well, they're categorized as like 3 pains. So one of them is risks, the risk that they're gonna take. So for example, when your business is providing financial services, like advising people like which stock to buy or how they invest their money, the risk is I'm going to retire and I'm not going to have any money to live on. So this is the risk, and that's my pain, and that's why I go to a financial advisor. Or the obstacles, like going back to the cooking example, I want to cook, but my obstacle is actually going to the grocery. So maybe a delivery, that can be a good example for that. The delivery business will solve that obstacle. Or the undesired outcome. What that means is, like, for example, the customer is using some product, but they didn't get the outcome or the result that they were looking for. So for example, they are using, let's say, a coach or like a product that they expected to improve their quality of life, but that didn't happen. So that's the undesired outcome. And then the customer gains also have different categories. Like the gains that you must have, like that food that we have to actually eat. The expected gain is actually to have a good meal to eat, the desired and unexpected gains are like those little surprises. So actually the recipe actually turns out to be such a delicious food. So that's the unexpected gain that you can surprise your customers with. So or maybe they were expecting like 10% return on their investment, but with the services that you provided, you showed them, then instead of 10%, you actually get 30% back. So that's the unexpected gain that you can really trigger the customer with. So I want to go through an example. I think someone else is joining us. We are just waiting for your name. I'm just going to keep going, and then hopefully you can join us very soon. So I want to give you an example. So all these makes a bit better sense. I know we went through the cooking example, a lot of little examples here and there, but I want to focus on Airbnb. So if you know Airbnb, they started their business back in 2008. But before they become a publicly listed company, they were valuating their business like at $40 billion. So they basically specialize in housing accommodation. But then let's look at the customer. Let's look at the customer job in this example. So the customer job, if I want to think about myself as a customer of Airbnb, my job was to find the most suitable accommodation. So I wanted to go travel, and I wanted to find somewhere to stay. The other job that I had, I wanted to be able to connect to locals. If I'm going somewhere, like let's say if I'm going to South America, I want to be able to like go and experience the local life. And I wanted to book a holiday home, for example, and being able to cook instead of going and staying at a hotel. And then I wanted that experience for me to be really hassle-free. I didn't want to like call people or make reservation over the phone. I just wanted to go on a website and be able to make a booking. And then I wanted my accommodation to maybe be private if I was taking my family with me, and compared to like all those busy hotels. So these were the jobs that I want as a customer I had. So what were my pains? My pains when I was looking at the website, and these are Airbnb business model that I'm going deep into. So they realized there are like as a customer, my pain was like having a lot of family homes out there, and I didn't know how to filter them. And what was the booking process? I was confused as a customer, and that was my pain. And then the other thing was, I was not sure if what is promised out there, all those beautiful pictures that they put up, is actually what I'm going to get when I arrive at that home. The other thing was, I was not sure if I'm finding that accommodation at the right place or for a fair price. And then I wasn't sure that if I'm going to trust that homeowner, because who wants to go to a stranger home? And then the gains are kind of similar as the customer pains. So I wanted to, the gain that I was looking for to achieve was like experiencing the local life, being able to compare accommodations and see which one I would like to go. And if I was going with a group of my friends, I wanted to actually be able to share my itinerary with my travel companions, with my friends and the ones that they were coming with me. And I wanted to be able to trust the homeowner. So these were the gain as a customer. So on the other side, just try to remember all the things that I said about the Airbnb customer section, because then after I talk to you about what value proposition section is, we are going to kind of link those together. So the value proposition, maybe I should ask. Any questions so far? Can hear me? You can see the screen, everything's good? Okay, awesome. So the value proposition side, which we very briefly talked about, is comprised of your products and services. Those products and services can be like physical products, like if you're selling, let's say, shoes or clothes, or intangible digital or financial product. On the pain relievers, we need to say how exactly, and you really need to be clear about that, how exactly you are going to your offer or your product can actually release the customer pains. And then on the gain creator side, also you need to say how your service or product actually going to create gain for your customer. So with that being said, let's look at the Airbnb example. So remember, my job was being actually able to book an accommodation. So they created an online platform to make the bookings. They made it seamless and hassle-free as much as possible. And then they put a detailed profile and reviews for all the hosts, so I could actually trust the homeowner. So when you think about it, and if you remember, every product and services they are trying to offer is corresponding to all those pains and gains that I had as a customer. And then they, I don't know if you have seen the Airbnb website or not, but when you go there, you see all the activities that I can experience, like go to an art class or take a tour. So they have all those activities that I can experience as a customer. And then on the pain reliever side, my pain was actually being able to trust. So they are vetting the host through the vetting process they have, and they guarantee for quality accommodation through their rating. We rate, go comment, and then they have a detailed profile and review of all the hosts that they have. And they also cut the middleman. So it's very direct. As a customer, I go and then book my travel. So they cut that middleman to be able to offer the reasonable prices. So if you look at it, on the gain creator side, again, an online platform to make the bookings seamless and hassle-free, and kind of corresponds with all the pains and the gains that I wanted to achieve as a customer. I want to pause a little bit here and then welcome our new attendees. Welcome Zara and Elham. I hope you can hear me and you can see the screen. We can actually see your comments and then your messages. Chat with us if you have any technical problems. And then this session is recorded. You are gonna have a copy of this recording, so don't worry about if you kind of missed a little bit of the presentation. So on the value proposition side, what is the most important thing is you need to be able to focus on the most important customer jobs, and that's how you become valuable. For example, think about if I wanted to actually give an example a little later, but I'm gonna give it to you now. So I'm a person that I constantly experience migraine. So when my migraine attack hit, my most job is to actually get rid of that headache. And then my extreme pain is that migraine. It's just such a killer. I can't do anything. And then the must-have gain, again, is to be actually able to go ahead and keep going with my daily activities and then get rid of the pain, be able to go to work, cook, talk to my friends, and communicate. So as someone that you're thinking about developing your idea, your service or products, try to focus on these. What is the most important customer job? Focus on, again, I'm just going through this again because it's so important. Focus on the extreme pain and then think about what is their must-have gains. And then a great value proposition has also some characteristics as well. It focuses on unsatisfied jobs. Like, for example, going back to that migraine example, I have a huge headache and I'm taking this pill and I'm not getting rid of my headache. So I'm really unsatisfied with all the pills that I'm getting. And then my pain is not going away, which is my unresolved pains. And then the gain that I wanted to achieve, which is going to be able to go to work or like take care of my kids, I can't do those either. So if there is a company that comes and tell me, if you take this pill, which there is one company, I just found them, and they are very, very brand new. So if they come and say, take this pill, and you are gonna get rid of your headache in less than 5 minutes, and it's gonna go away, that's the product that I'm gonna buy right away. And if I do a little bit of a research and make sure they are like a medical company, I can trust them, they're gonna be the product that I'm gonna love forever. So that's how you can, that's how important these are. Oh, thank you so much, Nasser. And then another thing that you need to focus, especially for the tech companies, or yeah, if you want to put an idea out there that is a little more focused on the creating a product, is thinking about actually does it differentiate from competition in a meaningful way, or I'm just copying another competition. So what is the point if someone wants to buy, let's say, a glass from Mr. X? What's the difference between buying it from Mr. X or Mr. Y? So I'm just producing the same thing. And then the other thing is, does it outperform your competition? Like, am I producing something that is better, or am I offering some services that I really think about my customers? Like, that outperforming your competition can be in so many different ways, maybe better quality or maybe lower price. I don't want to talk about lower price because you really need to value what you offer, but sometimes you can differentiate yourself based on pricing as well. And then, as I said, especially for a tech product, it's really difficult to copy. And then the last piece here is trying to put it all together and creating that right fit. So remember, the job of the value proposition was to be able to create that fit between the product that you are offering or services or the idea that you are thinking about having and then your customers. So if your gain creators that you're planning to offer correspond to the gains and the pain relievers correspond to the pains, you are the winner. You are the product, and the idea is the one to choose. I'm gonna maybe go back to the audience and ask, because I'm going to another phase of that iterative process, and I want to make sure that if you don't have any questions, looking at the comments, let me know if you have any questions, and I can unmute you, or you can unmute yourself and ask that question. Okay. Okay, we are gonna remember we talked about that fit. So you need to test your fit. And then during that testing, if you realize the pain relievers and the gain creators doesn't really address any pains or gains that the customer has, your product or services, they are not creating any value for your customers. So what can you do? What if you can't try that first fit on your first try? I remember I told you, it's a very, very rewarding journey, but remember, it's a long one. So you need to redesign, test, and repeat. And don't get exhausted over this process, because you don't want to waste your time and money. So the value proposition design, maybe you ask, oh, I don't want to start with the customer segment. You don't need to. But what you have to remember is you have to always address your customer pains, gains, and jobs. And then I'm going to show you how you can, what are the two options that you can design your value proposition. So one of them is called the push model. So the push model, you will start with your innovation. You will start with your technology or the idea you have. Like, you think about, you go through the ideation process, you brainstorm, you prototype, and then you're like, I really want to stick to this idea. So that's the push model. So you will start with that, and then try to link that idea, the product or service, with your customer jobs, pain, and gains. And then this is called solution first, and then solution first, and then you search for the problem next. So that's the push model. So the pull model, in the pull model, you start with the customers first. So remember, the push model started with your idea, your innovation or technology. So in the pull model, you start with your customers, and then you focus on the high value jobs. Remember, I told you need to focus on the unrealized gains and the pains that hasn't been addressed. So when you focus on the high value jobs, then you will build your value proposition. So you will start with your customer, go and then maybe survey and see what their pains are, what they're really suffering from, and then try to come up with the idea after that. So it's really important to note that value proposition is there for you to create value for your customers. So when you go through your ideation and you have a business idea, you start with value proposition design. So because you need to understand if you're creating value for your customers or not. I said this creating value for your customers a million times, but that's what it really is important. And then when you design your value proposition, you move on to your business model. And the business model is for you to create value for your own organization. So it's really important to know this distinction. So for those of you that missed a little bit of a beginning of this presentation, I mentioned that when we come up with an idea, we ask the question of, can we do it? Do customers want it? And how much is it gonna cost or worse? So all these corresponded to some terminology, which were desirability, feasibility, and viability. And then a great idea, the one that is going to really explode and make money, is the one that is kind of in the intersection of those three terminology. And that's the goal. That's what you are striving for when you are designing your idea. So I came across these two products that I want to really share with you and show you if they were useful, if they were successful or not. So the first one, and I think it's going to be on the left on your screen. So it's called Juicero. And then the other two are the toaster eggs. So toaster eggs is kind of really old product, but like there are tons and tons of these products that they didn't make it when you search the internet. But these, I think I found these two very, very interesting. So the first one, I'm gonna play this video for you if I can, and then I talk to you about it. So this company is called Juicero. So what it is, it's a machine that it's like a cold pressed juicer. And then you pay like $699, but they discounted the machine at like when they went through, I think they offered it for $300 after that. And then what it does, you basically buy the machine and then you pay for membership and subscription fee to get these bags that you can see. And then these bags have basically compressed fruit in them. And then you put the bags in the machine, close the machine, and then you are gonna have basically fresh juice every day. And then what Bloomberg did, they did this experiment, which is really funny. The lady on the left just basically squeezed all the juice out of the bag, and then she got the exact same juice out of the bag as she could get out of the machine itself. And then the funny thing is they funded $120 million, put their money and other people's money into this business, and they were not successful because who wants to pay $300 or $700 and membership with something that you can just go and buy it off the shelf? There are so many fresh juice out there when you go to the grocery store. The other one was this toaster egg, and they said how to get your kids to eat eggs without any fuss in the morning. And then they were not successful, because who wants their toaster to smell like egg all the time? That's so gross. I don't know, maybe you like a smell of cooked eggs, but a lot of people don't. So they were not able to be successful either. And then it's a funny actually activity. I encourage all of you to go on internet and look for the products that they haven't been successful, and it's a very important interesting thing to learn and realize what was missing or what was lacking in any of these. And then you realize the value proposition piece and being able to address the customer jobs, pains and gains was the most important one. I'm gonna pause a little bit again because I want to be basically everyone to be on the same page with me here. Let me know if you have any questions. You can unmute yourself, or I can mute you if you have any question. Oh, I wanted to also ask you guys, I wish you could have your camera on. I'm sorry, I forgot to ask at the beginning, because then I could see you, but go with what you're comfortable with. So, you might ask yourself, okay, you showed me all these lovely value proposition, you talk to me about the customer pains and gains, but how can I actually know if my business falls into that intersection? I'm gonna show you. Sorry, let me have a glass of sip of water, and I'm ready. So the business model canvas is the next step after you go through your value proposition. So what business model canvas is a blueprint for your idea, and the one that show you how you can create value for your organization. So a very quick description of the business model. Like a lot of time, I hear people saying, "Oh, what do you mean by business model? Is it me going and sitting down and writing a business plan?" No, it's not. The business model translates your business plans into different processes and then rationalize how an organization or your company is going to create, deliver, and capture value for your organization. And then when you go to that value proposition section of the canvas, it shows you how you can create value for your customer. So business model is not equal to business plan. It's just that it's just something that always I hear that question all the time. So business model canvas has 9 building blocks. It might be overwhelming at the beginning when you look at it. And then also at the same time, you're like, what do you mean? Like one page of a canvas is gonna show me how my business is going to do? Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, it's that simple, but not simple at the same time. But it's very, it's a summary and it's a snapshot of your whole organization, your product and idea. So who is this canvas for? So if you want to build a new business, or if you are one of those same as myself, if you always come with so many new business ideas, you're like, oh, I think that idea is such a great idea. That can be for you as well. Or if you're thinking about how can I create value for my customers and my company, or you have already a business and you're actually looking for some alternative ways of doing business because you have always been doing it in a very old fashioned, and you're like, oh, okay, technology has changed and I need to change my processes as well. So the business model is for you. And then the other question that I get, and that's why I put it in this slide, is people ask me questions, oh, how can I succeed without thinking about this business model or sitting down and putting this whole plan together, whole model together? And I say, yeah, of course you can. Why not? But the business model is like this. I put this construction picture here to show you the business model with its 9 building blocks is like the foundation of getting that construction right. And then when the foundation right. So, and then when you get your foundation right, you can evolve and change the business model as we go. So it's not something that is set in stone. Like you have the model at the beginning, and then as you grow and you test, experiment, and learn, you're like, oh, maybe I need to go back and change something. It's not set in stone. And that's one of the good things about it. You can do that iterative process, go back, change it, experiment. Okay, so I wanna kind of slice and dice this canvas in different ways, so it's gonna be easier to understand. Remember that circles of desirability, viability, and feasibility. So we are gonna actually dice this in the same way. So we are gonna put the 4 building blocks on the right into desirability. I need to have another sip of water, sorry. It shows I have been talking a lot and you're listening. Thank you so much. I love to have you here. So the desirability, the four building blocks is your customer segment, your customer relationship, your channels, and your value proposition. And then on the left, we are gonna put 3 of those blocks into the feasibility bucket, which is the key partners, key activities, and key resources. And then at the bottom, which when Sina is gonna talk about it more, is the viability, which is the cost structure and your revenue stream. So, and also you can slice and dice it in another way. On the left-hand side, you can think about your operation and then think about how you can make it efficient, which is that left side of key partners, key activities, key resources, and cost structure. We are going to talk about actually what those blocks mean, but I wanted to show you how you can dissect and understand it in terms of like those circles and the intersection. And then on the right hand side, you can block all those into creating value for your customers and your organization. Okay, so starting with the desirability and value on the right hand side, we are going to talk about the value proposition. We talked about this in great detail just maybe half an hour ago or an hour ago. So value proposition asks the question of what is the product and service I'm offering and how that solves a problem of a customer or satisfying. And then on the left, on the right hand side, you're going to have your customer segment. So who are your customers? Is it a mass market, a niche market, or multi-sided segment? So I'm going to give you a very good example a little later. Just be patient with me. You're going to understand the whole thing with the great examples that I have. And then you need to link these two together, remember, and how you can link it is with your customer relationship piece. What type of relationship will you be having with your customer? Is it like automated, like when you want to get an Uber, you just get on the app and then select your destination and everything is automatic. The driver is going to show up at your door. Or is it a very dedicated and one-on-one relationship, like having a coach, or different services that you receive? They're like very dedicated and one-on-one. Or something that you co-create, like you are a co-founder or you have different partners that you work together. And then how you are gonna basically talk to your customers. What are those channels of communication? Is it like you only have a website and people can come up and then look at your business and ask for your products? Like when you're selling a shoe, let's say a pair of shoe, and then someone comes on your website. If you have a Shopify website, someone comes in and then buy the shoe and they're gone. Or is it indirect, like you have a lot of different partnerships with other businesses? So this is under desirability and value section. And then at the bottom is the value. How much does this business worth? So what are the revenue models? Like, is it a fixed price? Again, the shoe price, like it's $50, you sell it and it's gone. Or is it a subscription fee? And a lot of other models actually that I couldn't fit it into this presentation. But there are a lot of different revenue models that you can plan your business on. Okay, I just want to see if any questions or comments. I don't want to be going really fast. Let's sip of water, sorry. Okay. And then on the feasibility and efficiency side, if you remember the left part of the business model, we start with key resources. So you ask the questions of what are those resources that you really need to make the business model work. If going back to that Shopify, you need a website and that's your resource. Or if you need a partner, like a person or a brand is your resource. And what are the key activities? What is the most important thing for you to do to become successful? So if you are a coach, you really need to be there. Or let's just give you another example. So the most important thing an Uber does is they have the platform and they have the driver. So if the platform is not there as their key activities, they cannot have actually the business. And then the key partners is like, who are your partners? Like, do you have a buyer or a supplier, or is it joint venture? So you need to think about the partners that you have. And then lastly, the cost structure is, what are the costs that you need to incur to make this business work? So you need to pay for a website design, or you need to buy a lot of inventory. If you're running a restaurant, like buying all those food, they are the costs that you need to incur. And then you also need to think about what is the most expensive resource, because then it's gonna impact the cost reduction and strategies that you can have down the road. And then the other question that you can ask yourself is, can you utilize a cost-driven business model to minimize the cost? So remember, if we lower the cost, we can also offer something that is, I don't want to call it cheaper, but it can be competitive in the market. So the cost structure is really important, and Sina is going to talk about. So I want to put this all together, and this is the last piece of my presentation for now. And I want to talk to you about Netflix business. And I want you to basically, through the Netflix business model, to understand all the things I've talked to you about so far. So Netflix happened to be one of the most successful multimedia companies of all time, which is very interesting. So if you look at the stock market, they are part of Bang, and one of the stocks that you might want to think about having. But they haven't started it that way. They were just basically posting CDs and videos to people that they were coming and asking for. So they had a very primitive website, and they were basically mailing businesses. Mailing CDs and DVDs. But then they created the platform. They put a lot of their own, now recently, documentaries, movies on it, and then they are very successful doing that. So let's look at their business model. I put together all these, the 9 blocks of the Netflix for you to basically understand how it all come together. On the desirability and value part, we are gonna start with the customer segment. So their customer segment is basically mass market, and it also is niche, but it's mostly mass market. So they're interested, whoever is interested in watching a movie, documentary, TV show, or whatever, they can basically hop on Netflix. And then on the value proposition side, what they offer is they offer streaming movies or whatever you want to watch, that they offer 24/7. There is no ad. Like if you watch TV and you're so frustrated of ads, you know what I'm talking about. And then they have also the Netflix original movies that they started, and you can basically sign up, pay for a membership, and then they have this 30-day trial policy that you can use without paying anything, and you can cancel anytime. So that's the value they are offering. And then on the customer relationship side, they made it like a self-setup really easy. Like you can just get the app, subscribe, watch. So easy to use. And then they have like online chat in terms of like their customer service. If you have any problem or any question, you can jump on that. And then for the channels, they have an online streaming website. They have the app, and also if you buy a smart TVs, the app is already loaded there. So that's how they communicate with their customers and the channels that you can use their products. And then the revenue model is very simple. So basically, it's a subscription plan. 3 different plans: basic, standard, and premium. They have different, like as you go up premium, obviously it gets more expensive. And I think you can watch high definition movie as you pay. And then on the feasibility and efficiency side, on the left, we are going to start with key partners. So they realize for them to have a successful business, they need to kind of keep the alliance they have with a smart TV companies. So if you buy a Samsung or LG or whatever brand you buy most these days, it comes up with the loaded Netflix app already on it. And they are partnering with Google, Amazon, and a lot of other TV networks. The key activities they realize they need to do really well for them to be successful is actually need to hire and train good employees. And they also need to develop their pricing strategy for their business to be viable. And then keep that customer relationship really well. And then the key resources, number 3, key resources. The resources that they need are software developers. And then the algorithms is one of those resources as well. Like if you watch a good movie these days, or let's say if you watch a comedy and then come back 2 days or next day, the algorithm is recommending another comedy show, and it says, oh, you might like this as well. So it's one of those resources that they realize they need to have. And then on the cost structure, one of the most expensive part of their cost is maintaining their platform. And then like the cost that they pay for their research and development and the artificial intelligence. So I'm hoping that this example basically put all those things together for you to be able to understand what a business model does and how it connects the value proposition and the customer pains, and then put it all together in a quick snapshot. I'm gonna take a pause here and see if anyone has any questions. Are you still with us? Are you awake? Are you refreshed? I know as you are in Iran, it's really late, but let me know if you're awake. Unmute yourself and say, "Oh, you something, make a noise. I want you to be with me." Okay, are you with me? I can't hear any noise.
I'm here. Thank you. You're awesome. Thank you.
Yay. Okay, hopefully the other people are with us as well, but they didn't figure out how to unmute themselves. And the funny thing is, I could unmute everybody, but I don't know why I can't. Anyways, I hope Elham, Nasser, Nassim, you are with us. So the third part of this whole process is to be able to test and measure. So how can you test your business idea? Sorry, I should say, why do you need to test your business idea? Because you want to reduce risk and have a higher return on your investment. So depends on that, what that investment is. Like if you spend a lot of time on it, or if that investment is your money, or all the money that you put into your self-development, the courses that you spend, or what that investment is, depends on your business, but you want to have a very high return on that. So that's why you need to go out there and test it. And the things that you need to consider is, first and foremost, is look for evidence over opinions. So I hear this thing, like I have 3 different clients that I'm working with them right now. One of them is really, he's really a very cool guy, but he says, I think, and I believe. And these are the things that he says when I question his testing process and the idea. I love the fact that you are thinking outside the box and you're putting yourself in the shoe of your customer, but you need to look for evidence. Like opinions matter, but not matter as much as the actual evidence. So go ask people, like ask them to try it or get a class, or like depends on what services you provide, let them use the app that you're putting out there. Or maybe if you are having a website, put a trial website and ask him, can you please test it to see if it works? So look for all those evidence over opinions. And then the one that I really love and I always embrace it is embrace failure. So don't be afraid of failing. So fail fast and fail forward, because if you fail fast, you realize, oh, maybe I didn't do this right. I don't know how many of you know Elon Musk, but he's trying to create those rockets. I'm not sure, Armin, if I'm right, rockets. And then those rockets, how many times they have exploded? Oh my God, the money that he's spending on this project. But he's testing it and testing it so fast and failing because he wants to understand what is wrong. What is wrong that this is not working? So test, embrace failure, and fail fast and fail forward. And then I know failure can be really scary, but you need to find ways to get over that fear as well. And then test your customer jobs, pain and gain before you test what you could offer. Because if you do that, you are not biased as much, because you don't say, I think. So you believe, and then you go for everything. And then the last one is make it measurable. So what does that mean? So if you go and test and say, okay, I'm just going to test this and don't put any measure into it, how can you learn? So you need to make it say, I want to test it in this way. So when I come back, for example, going back to that rocket, I don't know that process as well, but I'm just going to make it up as I go. For example, if Elon Musk say, I want to see what is the speed of that rocket when I fire it. So he's measuring the speed, and then he's measuring different matrix that he's putting together. And then when he tests it, he can actually put it beside that measure that he said at the beginning and say, oh, I thought it's gonna go that fast, but actually it didn't. And then he realized what the gap is, and he can make improvement as he goes. I'm getting very close to the end of my slides, and we are gonna move to Sina very quickly. So we started with ideate, build, measure, and learn. So the last section is learn, to be able to find that right business model. Basically, I mentioned it at the big, like a little talk about the Elon Musk testing. So that learning piece, the phase is really important. So have the measurable insights into your testing and the whole process, so you can go back and learn what was wrong, and then you go. If things didn't work out the way you wanted, you can go back to that iterative process and go back to the drawing board and start building again. So we want to go and take maybe, see now, how long do you think we should take the break for? Maybe 5 minutes or 3 minutes?
I will probably, because just give a blinks and then 3 minutes we're gone.
I didn't
Let's
hear
go for
you.
5 minutes. Sorry, can you hear me right now? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay, fine. I go for 5 minutes.
Okay.
5 minutes. Thank you.
11, 20, 22. We are gonna see you in 5 minutes. I'm gonna put the counter on the screen so you know when we are gonna be back. But we will see you in the next 5 minutes. If you have any questions, maybe I'm gonna start with your questions first. So write your questions down, ask those questions first, and then if you have any questions, I'm gonna answer those first, and then we go to Sina's presentation. So stay with us, and we will be back in 5 minutes.
Great.
Can you see my timer? Yeah, we have 4 minutes and 21 seconds to go. So let's have some music on, write down your questions, and we are gonna be back. We have less than 1 minute to go. Nine more seconds. Okay, we are back. So I can't see you all because your cameras are off, but like if you're sitting down and you have been sitting down for, oh my God, more than an hour, maybe let's just move it a little bit, stand up, put your shoulders back, take a deep breath, and let's do it. I'm just gonna go stand up as well myself, just to stretch a little bit. Oh, get your
You know,
glass of
Carol, I wish we could do something that the Tony Robbins does in his shows.
yeah.
You know, that how vibrant our people, let's say, are, you know, paddling and then moving, they're shaking around with the loud music. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Awesome. So, Sina, I'm gonna mute myself and then put your slides up the top. Give me a second. Okay.
Okay. Perfect. And how much we have got. You know that I'm not gonna start that one day talk.
Oh, okay, sorry. So for some reason I was muted. So you have like 45 minutes to an hour, Sina. It depends on the people's
Okay.
question. But what as I promised, we're gonna start with their questions. Sorry, completely forgot. So if anyone has any question, unmute yourself or let me know, and I can mute yourself and mute you, and then we can kind of answer your question before we dive into all the numbers and the financial side of running a startup. Let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So shall we?
Yeah, looks like we don't have any questions right now. So let's go, Sina. It's back to you to start with the presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for having me, first of all. And I did enjoy the presentation, specifically the part for the you know, value proposition design. That was so cool. So guys, great. I'm pleased being with you. I hope each one of you, you know, after this great fruitful session are, you know, appreciating a lot of, you know, knowledge and things, and you're taking it back home and then using it for your ideation, for your startup, and probably helping for others. So back to this slide of current challenges. We have highlighted some, you know, parts that are directly related to financial role. The thing is that I'm not, you know, teaching accounting or financial principles or something like this. I'm just drawing a very general, you know, insight. Today, giving a very general insight on what are the roles of the finance and I'm going to introduce you what virtual CFO is, the important role in the startups, SMEs, and early stage companies. Plus, I'm going to introduce you and share the results, for which I'm pretty excited about it. The results of the search and the model we have adopted while working with the local startups in the region. So if you have seen that before, but let's just take a look at the highlighted parts and see, just feel that how important it is to consider financial results for startups of any stage. Before we go, you should know what are the main functions of any business. We have some functions that are, it doesn't matter that what the business is doing, where the business is doing, what activity it is involved with, or the industry it is acting to. We've got some, let's say, apparently some pillars or functions like the people, where the team is acting. We've got industry, where the attractiveness and the whole bunch of competition is going on. And the most important probably so far is product, and then a value proposition, stuff like that, and then the market share, and last but not least, finance. I mean, put your money where your mouth is, how people say. So let's just dig out a bit over the role of finance and CFOs and virtual CFOs or the finance expert. But I just try to put something, few important hints here, where I'm sure that a few of you probably are finance experts, or you have heard, or you have worked, or you've been in touch at least with finance people at the company you're working for, or you probably have own a company and then you've hired a finance people, accountants, to top executives. So the finance role here is to provide, especially for the early startups, providing key measures. I mean, we're calling it KPIs, key performance indicators, and are the units of measurements, kind of a monetary, let's say, to measure that whether your targets are smart or not, and how your business is going and where your business is going to. So it's very important. And later I will realize that how this is being done. Also, financial people are setting critical success factor, mainly over profitability and then efficiency, which means that if you owning the startup, you are definitely thinking of, all right, generating revenue, and then finally you're going to have the net income in your pocket and then leave work to home. So I'm not saying you accounting, I'm saying financial finance function is helping you, first of all, to realize where you are, second of all, to realize to measure where you are, your performance, your position, and definitely the cash flow, and then helping you to see how far you're away from the targets you have set already. I mean, before starting the whole thing, the product on a blank piece of paper and stuff like that. The other point is that finance department is helping quantifying the results. I mean, in terms of quantitative planning, working very closely with other functions. We have already seen market, industry. Like, let me just tell you that internally we've got a sales function, R&D, production, let's say operation, and many more. And finance is having very close collaboration with these departments in terms of collecting the data required for, let's say, converting them to meaningful information for management sound decision making. And the next will be the trends. It helps us to understand the trends. And what I mean by trends, not only the past, but also mainly the future. you have seen about financial statements, probably different types. And we know that both qualitative and quantitative data and informations are there. Who is contributing to produce this final product of this accounting process? It is the finance team and finance department. And what are the usage and purpose of these final products, and how who are the beneficiaries and how management is using it? Definitely vast and broad range of usage is there, and finance or CFO, who is the expert person in through the startups or SMEs or even bigger companies, are helping management to understand, to see, and to see what is behind the scene, to understand and to interpret the results in order to improve the performance, in order to improve the, very simply, for example, sales, in order to reduce the costs, and let's say the rest. Also planning for a future, and then the fundraising, for which everyone is nagging wherever they are. We know that. Yeah, and we are going to look at the life cycle of the startups, and why I'm putting it right here, because practically there's no standards for saying that, all right, up to now it is your early stage, up to here you're growing, up to here you're mature, or something like this. So, but theoretically we are designing because we need some assumptions to put on the page, to put on our mind, to think about it, actually where we are and where we are going. So I'm a fan of visualization and illustrations, as long as it helps us to be clear and be transparent in terms of making decisions. So let's just take a look from the left side. We see that the startup is starting from its very introduction phase. You probably have no sales, no costs, no figures at all, and you are thinking about how you are working with this prototyping, how your minimum viable product is going to be designed, sprints, and a lot more. So at this stage, startups are, thinking of, all right, there's some paper in front of you, too many, colorful sticky notes on the wall, and thinking of, all right, I've got this idea and where I'm going with this idea. So the next stage will be the growth stage, and then the maturity stage. And these first three stages is the subject matter that I'm going to discuss more in details within the next slides. So the seed and then the development, this is how you're forming your ideas. A startup, you're adapting your business model, now thinking of the canvas Carol already discussed, how you are forming and designing your value proposition, what features you're putting it for, and then outlining the total strategy and then the work process. And then the growth is like that. You're now maintaining the strong cash flow and definitely low turnover. I mean, employees turnover, but high, sales, and then costs are somehow under your control. You have already familiar with the behavior of the costs, and that's fantastic. The maturity phase is that, just take a look at the big, corporation like Airbnb, like McDonald's, and those, old veteran in the industry. Yeah, and then the main slide, which is next, I have drawn you the, let's say, a circle. Let me just give you a little bit about the history of the model we have worked for. It is back to the time where I and my team were working on the Europa Knowledge Hub. We have started examining early stage giving evaluation for startups, the early age mainly. And you know that the early stages, rarely you can find any reliable prediction. We cannot find any figure. There's no somehow forecast for that. And so we have to totally rely on qualitative factors. Like we have seen and observed their pillars of more than, if I'm not mistaken, more than 50 to 60 And we have spent almost more than 1,000 hours interviewing them, validating their ideas, examining their processes, and validating their vision and mission, and see that how far they are practically from the vision and values they have set, and also their strategies. So the reason, as I told you, was finding a good model to put a value over this early stage, because that was somehow a boom in Iran and in the region for investing on the startups, and it was like a rush. It was like a gold rush. People were seeking for money, and then with every startups I discussed, that the top of their minds would say, oh, okay, where can I have money? I'm just smelling the money where it is. So and besides of this work, because of two large data we had collected from different business to businesses, from healthcare, insurance, fintech, consumer medias, varieties of industries were discussed and interviewed. And we collected some data based on which we later designed some business cases, which enabled us to validate something beyond a simple valuation of those startups. And that the results was very fantastic, because we have found practically within these pies, if you take a look, the market, people, product, industry, and money, 15 vital elements that depending on the nature we put it. For example, for product pillars, we knew that early startups are working on their product. But let me just tell you something, that I'm a fan of combination of, I've always been a fan of combining management science from one hand and the accounting discipline from the other hand. It's not accounting process, debit or credit at the moment. I'm totally giving you something, a picture beyond the simple accounting process. So by combining these two together, we could realize that somehow what was good for the startups and how unfortunately neglectful they are in realizing the most crucial elements, specifically when they are working. It's like a baby just born, so too much care should be spent, large amount of efforts and times and resources should be utilized, and it should be done smartly, otherwise you're wasting a total amount of resources, and that is so bad for the record of your business. Whatever, let's just get back to this beautiful colorful pie. So let's just start with this product things very briefly. We just realized that those new ventures are producing their core offering in forms of their product, which is the essence of their entrepreneurial idea. On the other side, we were working on, we just realized that this was like in the process of learning how to do it, and sometimes unlearning and then avoiding mistakes. So what we do, just realizing three types of layers, like that is showing, representing how idea is born and is grown, and is grown up. So we have defined this idea assessment, for which I will discuss later, and enhancement and implementation, just to show that startups early stages should should be in compliance with these kind of a discipline. Because if you are thinking that, all right, you're gonna learn about swimming, I remember that I was too stubborn, very early childhood, so I was just sitting next to the pool and then was deciding that, all right, instead of doing something, let's say scientifically and practically, because the coach was teaching us how to swim on the shore, not in the water. So I said that, why not? I'm throwing myself totally blindly in a deep water and then paddling for no reason, then I will learn. And this is, believe me, more than 50% of the startups will do, and unfortunately, within the first 2 to 5 years, they will fail. We have already explained the market fit, improper lack of, proper vision and sort of things. But the main important is that they are focusing on unnecessary function rather realizing what is important at this stage. That is how I showed you earlier the different stages, and I told you that the first 3 stages I'm working and I'm drawing your attention to. So anyway, within these 3 layers and considering these 15 elements, we have realized that the earlier you are, I mean, imagine that you're an owner of a business, you're just born the ideas, you're working on that. For example, from the product side, you're working and you should work on your innovation. I remember the matter of exploring new ideas, or let's say new opportunities, and exploiting the current, facilities and resources. Why not? And then, or, searching for intellectual property for your product, because these gives advantages. Later on, we will see how. These gives somehow advantages to your product, to the whole process, to your ideas, and this is fantastic, because if you've got the IP, no one is going to copy and paste your product. And coming up with this very great, beautiful value proposition is also another things that earliest stage startups should, think of. So very, very quickly, I will say about market pillars were the purchase the product, the market receptiveness, let's say the target market is very important for the industry, and the difference between what market is and what the industry is. For your information, market is something that you are going to put your product in. Market is something that you're expecting to collect money from, and you should not neglect industry. And industry is something that similar, competitors are acting, and you should sometimes be afraid of and really careful of putting your product in the industry, like even if you're a shoemaker, ice cream maker, I don't know, online accounting provider or consultant, whatever you do, you should be really careful of your industry. So sustainable advantage and industry attractiveness. If your product, and if you're not acting in an attractive industry, you will definitely fail. This reminds me of a time I was working on my own online accounting. I was more than 10 years ago. And then I just thought that, all right, blindly again, I saw that the market was growing sometime in terms of demand. And on the other side, I saw that, all right, everyone graduated after a few years of works are setting up their firms. So I thought that, why not? I'm doing it. Everybody's doing it. I'm doing it. I should be doing it. So I did that. And less than a year, I totally failed. And that was a great, experience. Validated learning according to, Lean Startup. So people also, for this section, I must say that, yeah, I always put the highest portions of venture value to the teams. I was once a member of a committee who was responsible for, finding eligible startups and then, kind of realizing their weaknesses and strengthen, reviewing their business plan, and then according to some predefined criteria, we were supposed to, score them and then value them and then give them a money. Whenever it was my turn, I always say that people or the team is the most important function for every startup and every company. Imagine that you are coming up with a terrible, crazy idea. That doesn't work, that's fine. You still cannot do your digital marketing research, that is also fine. You cannot even measure how competitive or competitions are out there, that's totally fine. You don't even have no money, no problem. You can start your startup with no money, no problem. But without a team, people, without a team, you go nowhere. You for sure go nowhere. Imagine, I cannot even imagine. I said that, all right, show me your team, show me the profile of your team, and I will score that. And I did that. Doesn't matter how much they were granted, but team still, because combination of stupid and smart people together is fantastic. I cannot work with smart people because the smart people cannot work together. I always like to work with the stupid people because the stupid people will find a way to every solution. So anyway, the people and then the team, doesn't matter the other functions are deteriorated. The team is going to make the whole company invincible. So invincible you cannot even believe. So under this people or team thing, we've got a personal aspiration. Believe me or not, the vision of a company, the closer it is to team member, more successful the company will be. It's talking about shared value or social capital, achieving one goal. Every people should, feel that they are working in a family. Every people should work that they are having the same goal, to follow up. And last but not least, ability to execute. And finally, it's time for the money, and then we shall move to the next slides, where I'm going to quickly go over, because the discussion here is just focusing on the pillars or the slides for money. So you have to take care of your cash cycle, margins, business model, how you're generating revenues, sales, and cash break even. Yeah. So in the next, continuing with that model we've worked on, after realizing that 15 elements were required for, in particular, earlier stage startups, we put the caption of kind of a venture intelligent idea assessment model that we couldn't actually find an appropriate, better name or like a nickname for it, but just this is what we put, like this model. This is what we have adopted and actually developed for the regional and local startups, and that was amazing. And if you see the next slide, we will see that the 3 layers I have already told you about are defining the 3 stages for the idea that is born and is subject to grown. First, remember that piece of blank paper I earlier discussed? So it's now time to just reading like let me just change it, like writing a novel. You don't even know the names, just characters, have no idea. So it's time to conceptualize your business model, because you have already found a new business opportunity, and now you think that, all right, let's just work on that. And for this, we are going to work on this idea assessment when the idea is just born. But this idea assessment is working for all those slides of our pie, for money, for people, for industry, for market, and also for product. And then after a while, when we are somehow in the middle of the very early stage and then the maturity, somehow we are grown. We have got some sales, we have got some reliability for our revenue, and then things are going fine, costs are under control. It's time for idea enhancement. We are somehow positioned to take advantage of the opportunity we have earlier found. And it seems that probably early adopters who are the early customers have some feedback. We have learned about their feedbacks, and we did developed our ideas, and now the product or even the service is generating us somehow a cash flow, probably positive cash flow. We will see. And last but not least is idea implementation, where we will see that we are already grown, and it's time for devising a very comprehensive plan, like the strategic or tactical plan. And it is definitely time for expansion. Yes, the business is much more reliable. The business is more producing cash flow from which we can do something. There are some money left into our banks that we can use up and probably hire more people, go beyond a very early naive website, and we can do it, you know, on and on. So but one thing, I need to complete the model of this 15 elements of the 3 layers. Something has always been back of my mind of that triangle representing how we are creating value, delivering, and finally capturing the value. And don't forget that it's not us putting a value on our product. It's the customer who's putting a value on our. You should always be in their shoes, definitely. So after a lot of learning validations we have done with those startups, after spending too much hours, a lot of efforts we have put on this model, we have realized that, yes, thank you, the characteristics of the business idea should with no doubt be like kind of a viable, durable, and credibility with no particular arrangements. And you know that by definition when we say viable, all right, what is viable? Something that produces money, something in terms of business, something that is like having this stable revenue generating. So we are expecting then a viable idea to work for us, to make us have a happy weekend, to make us having a happy holiday, to make us have a great presents for our families. So this is a viable product, which is the results of those 15 elements and 3 layers. On the other hand, owners like when they see the trends continuously. So this is what we found out, that it should be durable. And this is like continuous value creating and capturing and going concern like. So last but not least is the matter of credibility, where as a result of all these efforts, as a result of all these changes we have done, as a result of all this validation, we have learned how to make customers be confident about our product. Do not forget this 4-letter word, trust. Trust is the most important thing, that whatever you do, wherever you are, whatever you are thinking is helping you to grow. And these 3 angles are showing us how grateful we should be if we realize these 3 elements inside as a character of our business idea. So I'm going to give you a brief. In the meantime, I'm not sure if people have some question or anything. Okay, so let's go on. The idea assessment, the whole process, as I told you, it's something that we are going to conceptualize our business model. We are now thinking of innovative process, innovative product, the exploration and exploitations I already discussed. And the questions in my mind that, all right, can my venture intellectual property be legally protected? I should look for patent, trademark, I don't know, copyright, assignment, licensing, material transfer, agreement, confidentiality, software license, whatever things or whatever means that I can protect my idea. Because the more protected my idea is, the less copy I will see in the industry and in the market. So I'm safeguarding of my idea by these means. And in the first layers of this idea assessment, we want to examine that how receptive our customers are by use of, for example, early adopters, where they are testing and measuring how good our idea or products are. And the industry attractiveness I already discussed, or let's see if we've got this mission fit with the entrepreneur's personal aspirations, the venture's mission fit. Or is the entrepreneurial team are well connected down or across the value chain? Or the next question probably is that venture revenue model is continuously, is that reliable to continuously generate the revenue that we are expecting out of this model? And you know that we've got too many models that we can rely on, and then we can use up depending on what type of startups we are. And then so or our opening and cash cycles are optimized or not. And when we're talking about cash cycle optimization, it's a matter of that generating reliable cash flow. And cash flow, my friends, is not just a revenue that we are earning. It is the amount of cash that is coming inside of the organization, and we are relying on that, because whatever you're going to do, you have to pay cash, regardless of the, I don't know, your terms with suppliers or whatever. You have to pay salaries, you have to pay, hire people, you have to pay for your fixed costs, you have to pay the rent and pay for your, I don't know, servers or something like this. So yeah. And then the next we will see, I have done by focusing on that finance pillar, the key issues regarding the first layer, but for the finance function. The key issues probably are the pricing strategies, the margin, and then the operating, and then the cash cycle. Yeah. Thank you. So pricing strategies, you are probably familiar with that. Scheming, penetration, leadership, depends on your vision, your mission, your goals, your strategies. Through that, how you are going into the market. This is deciding your pricing strategies. And before pricing strategy, before putting a price on your product, guys, there's no revenue. There's no revenue at all. Nobody can measure your revenue. There's no money. There's no figure, anything. So first of all, think about your prices. And then margin, it's kind of a business jargon, some kind of an accounting jargon. But that's a difference between your revenue and the cost of producing that revenue. Imagine that I have produced this glass for $1, and now I'm going to sell it for $2. So $2 is my revenue, and $1 is the costs of producing this or buying this. And then finally, the $1 is the margin. But don't make a mistake. The $1 is not supposed to go to my pocket yet. We've got a long way to do. We've got some expenses to be deducted from that $1. But mainly from the strategic point of view, management are making a decision with that $1. It's very important, because when it comes to the cost reduction or the price increase or whatever, people are focusing on the top side of that profit and loss, their profit and loss statement, let's say. And then operating margin, you will see in the right side, those, let's say, boxes, and then operating and cash cycle. As a result of these revenue generating, we are experiencing the cash cycle, and that is fine. That is good. It's coming in. It's coming in. But no, don't forget that where in whatever layer we are working, we should not neglect that those three: viability, durability, and credibility within the idea. Okay, so the next layer is the idea enhancement. If you remember, we have learned that at least we have we have got the list things to propose to the reader of the business model. We have got some, experiments with the product. So it's time that we are going to measure how positioned we are, and let's take advantage of the opportunity we have. So again, the triggers are like that. If my venture is going to deliver the tangible benefits to my customer, did I target my market in a well manner? Let's say, has my venture secured exclusive access to the rare resources? Sometimes it happens. I should look for some rare resources. The resources are not available, people. The economy is so bad these days. Resources are too far away, not accessible. Yeah. And then, or can I guarantee, for example, a firm sales contract by which I can guarantee my revenue and then subsequently my cash flow? Or can the venture team execute, and if you remember, critical success factors? Do they know critical success factors and can they work towards that? Or my break-even point, for which I will discuss, is good, is fine where I am within this break-even, kind of charts in terms of volume or in terms of, cash, in terms of sales volumes. And then next, yes, thank you, is something that I'm going to draw your attention to in this second layer idea enhancement, focusing on our finance. Cash flow and break-even are something that I must care about. And just give you a bit of an introduction to this break-even. You might have heard it before, but imagine that we are producing something, a service or product, doesn't matter, and our service or product has a certain price. Okay, that's fine. And this price reasonably should make us a profit at the end of the day, not a loss. Profit at the end of the day. So what we do, we are going to measure how much in terms of value or how many products in terms of volume we should produce to be fair, like in a zero level, like you're on the scales 50-50. It's good to know. Before I thought that this is like the stupid chart, but this is so useful. One of the most useful tools management are using for their internal decision making. This is fantastic if I know, because if I know into what extent I need to produce, it's something that I can dictate and put some more strategies, or sometimes I have to change, and then probably pivot. I mean, changing from one strategy to the other strategy, or probably I have to shift my thoughts to increase my price or lower my costs or increase the volume of my production in order to be on the right side. If you see, the dark blue one is the profit area. So just don't worry, leave these to finance people. They know how to handle with it, and they will help you to make your final decision. And after that, last but not least, is the third layer of idea implementation. It is where, if you remember, I have done a lot. I've got my stable cash flow, I've got my break-even, and now it's time for the tactical planning. And this tactical planning is also helping me to, I can share this plan. I can share this plan with stakeholders, with potential investors, with prospects, with even lenders, so they can effectively understand from this business plan where I am and where I'm going to go. With a lot of supplementary tools actually that we can include into our business plan, we can do this. Things like product awareness, the types of strategies like the improved cash flows, or industry competition analysis, SWOT things, internal, external, environment analysis, so on and on. I'm able to do this. And then the next, it's showing again, as far as we are focusing on this very interesting topic of finance, the financial plan is now ready. When I'm thinking or talking about financial plan, guys, you are not thinking about the hundreds of pages plans. No. A business plan could be a canvas depending on where you are with your startup. It could be few pages or few slides, or it could be thousands or hundreds of pages. It depends on how mature your startup is. So don't worry. You should not be worried of, all right, where is my business plan? Because investors is, waiting behind the door. No. Nobody is asking you if you are very early about your business plan. Just think wisely where you are and then carefully devise your plan with the help of that virtual CFO I earlier discussed. So right now, financial plan, assumptions in place, positioning in your financial statements like your P&L, the necessary items in P&L like your interest before, your earning before interest and taxes, your net earning, your, let's say, margins, your revenue, your cost of sales, and also your balance sheet, where your position is determined. You've got your resources on one hand, you've got your commitment and obligations on the other hand. And then it seems that we are little by little opening up to investment offerings. And again, I'm telling you that you can, absorb $1,000 to millions, and then finally your initial public offerings, and then merger and acquisition. But little by little, we are devising this plan. We are helping you devise this plan little by little, showing that how you are going to use your finance department and functions, and how finance is helping or contributing towards creating value for the startups. And I'm going to end my discussion. I hope I haven't talked too much. So just a few minutes left. Guys, benefit of this model, I'm really actually proud of this outcome of this model, because when you learn something out of the experiment, it's total cool, giving you very aspiration, So the benefit of this model is for entrepreneurs, is for investors, is for students, is for academics, is for governments, other stakeholders, towards this invincible company, something that no one can, or no, let's say, obstacles or bottlenecks or issue cannot stop you from your growth. So entrepreneurs, again, can conceptualize and articulate their venture processing by writing a great winning business plan. Investors can systematically evaluate the venture and accordingly assess their investments. Students and academics can acquire skills to articulate and evaluate the proposed, data and information. And then government, probably, if they've got some plans or programs to support the startups, innovation or economy plan, these tech parks. So they are all beneficiaries of this plan. So last but not least, if you are working toward your goals, visions, if you believe that you have got something valuable in your mind, I'm telling you that you are halfway gone. And don't forget that the rest 50% is the combinations of management science and accounting discipline that we can help you to devise a plan, to go for your vision, to go for your goals, to implement and design your strategies. And don't forget that if you want to be a winner, and who's the winner? A winner is someone who tries one more time. Thank you very much for staying with me. And thank you, Carol, for dedicating this much time for this great, valuable discussion. Thank you.
It was lovely. I hope that we still have some people with us. I think some people are joining us from Iran, and it's kind of like really late, but I wanted to thank you for being with us here and staying with us. So if I want to go back and share go back to the slides that we talked about, and kind of refresh your memory about where we are. Back to that pie chart. Where is that? Yes, there you go. So myself, like we are almost 2 hours into this event. Myself, I talked about the market product fit for almost an hour. Sina walked us through the financial problems that a startup face and how through that pillars and levels we can kind of overcome those problems. And now we are going to go maybe take a break. I don't know if it's really late over there in Iran for some people. Maybe we can just skip the break and then go to questions. So ask Sina if you have any questions. And then after that, we are going to move on to our last presenter, which is Armin. He's going to only talk about around 15 minutes. So that's what's promised, to talk about innovation and how innovation is important when you are going through your ideation, coming up with different and new ideas. And he's gonna give you some examples of innovative products that are out there. Unmute yourself, or let me know, and I can unmute you and ask your questions from Sina. So go ahead. Okay, looks like we don't have. Do we have any questions? So I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. Got the other slides. Okay, there you go. If we don't have any questions from people, I'm going to give the stage to Armin and talk about innovation. Go ahead, Armin.
Hi, folks. Thanks for having me. I'm Armin. I'm an engineer. I like building things. So let's get into it. I ain't got much time. So it's about innovation and how to utilize it. And, well, everybody's talking about innovation, creativity. And you have to know it only happens when you fully understand what the problem is and what the user needs. Otherwise, your product would not be viable or useful. That's when you design a solution, and you have no innovation basically if it's not a functional solution that really actually works. So moving on, you have to know where you're at in your venture. So it's about like the innovation process, and if you're at the exploration process, you're just seeking for what problem do I want to solve. You haven't found like that aha moment that, okay, this is what I'm going to go for, design, program for, but you're looking for it. So you're in the exploration mode. And you go on expedition, talk to people, hey, what's the problem? How can I be of help? I'm a programmer, I'm an engineer, I'm an accountant, I'm an artist. How can I help with this problem? And then when you move forward, you have a design, you have a concept, you got an idea, and you just move ahead with that. And well, you got some potential solutions that you articulate, put forward, and then you start trying experimentation. It's all about like, hey, I've drawn this. Can you take a look? I've made this prototype. Would you try it? Can you run my beta version program and give me a feedback? And then you have to experiment more, ask more people why they didn't like it, why it didn't work. So don't be baffled, don't feel bad, don't retreat, just stay focused on it and keep on experimenting. And then it's all about like, do it, just do it, like Nike. It's about like how you have to operationalize it and then the scale up, which is a different beast. It's all about like, okay, how can we manufacture this? And then how can we scale up? Do I need to get subcontractors? Do I have to borrow money, start my own workshop, factory, step by step? So you have to really realize where you are at and then look for your resources. Okay, just trying to jump into the next slide. Okay, this is something that I like design and I build a prototype and I tell you why it didn't work. Well, have you ever looked at all these poor truck drivers that need to change these heavy tires on semi-trucks, tractors, mine trucks, heavy-duty equipment, heavy-duty trucks? It's cumbersome, it's painful, and these guys struggle a lot, even if you're in a garage. So there's got to be actually equipment that would help them with it. So I thought about something. I designed something, and the next slide, I designed something like this. This is not exactly what I've designed because my design had rollers, jacks, some arms, and hinges, and basically shock absorbers, 2 hydraulic pumps. But essentially, it did the very same thing as you see like these guys are doing. So it just has got a roller, a base, and a very simple lever that you can jack it up to adjust the height for adjusting, like finding the holes. And well, whom did I have to compete with? Can I sell such a thing to a truck driver who's like, he's got to have two, one to take the flat or tire out, bring it the spare, and just fit it in place. And then if I needed to make it from like aluminum, it would be lighter and better, but it would be more expensive. If it was not made of stainless steel, everything would rust. So I had to compete against, like in big garages or at mine sites, with such equipment that you see on the screen. It's just automated. It's beautiful, way faster, of course, more expensive, but if you're changing too many tires, why not? So I made a prototype. I pursued the patent and everything, but I've decided to pull the plug on it because it didn't make sense to just pursue it any longer. When you have the competition, I couldn't produce cheaper, and the market was mostly at the garages. It was not like with the drivers. Like, for example, you don't buy such a thing and put it in your trunk just in case if you get a flat tire. And basically we'll be needing sometimes two. So I decided not to continue with the idea. You see, sometimes you have to pull the plug. The sooner you realize your heart is not into it, or you're not convinced that you can sell it, I think that's the better. Maybe it would have been like successful, but not for me. I wanted to explore other avenues. So just very quickly, how the landscape of business has changed for somebody who's designing and building things. Before, I mean, that's the World War II and before the manufacturing. And you have to change your mindset because the landscape is changing. Before, you had the idea, you had to educate yourself, and then you had the concept, then you had to make a prototype, acquire material, and manufacture, find a manufacturing place, workshop, factory. And then you were blind. The product went out, so it was just input, output. There was no feedback. And then that's what the market was based on. And the more you sold, the happier you were. Moving to the next slide. It improved a little bit. Are we moving to the next slide?
Yes, if there is a delay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, in a more agile world, you need to be way quicker with your product, and then you have to really work with the client to just find out that what their needs are. It's not about like you design it, you just send it out to the market, and you wait for people to tell you if it works properly or if they have problems with it, or this is the way they like it. It's rather late. Before it was all about like, okay, I know what I've designed, and I put it out. So this is pretty much old school nowadays. Are we having the next slide?
Yeah, we are having a next slide. Can you see?
No, I mean, I want to move to the next.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we are frozen.
Yeah, it's frozen. Sorry. Okay, we have to just jump back.
Yeah, fine.
No, we got to go back. It
This
just
one?
jumped. No, one back.
Here.
Sorry. Okay, so just one back for the coupling process. So this is how it kind of like changed. It was about, okay, this is my idea. I do the research and design. It goes back and forth, prototype. You go to the client, tell them to just try to practice, to just play with it, tell you what the defects are, what the undesirable actually features are. And this is pretty much how the software and a lot of products have been produced in the 80s and 90s. Moving to today, it's all about an integrated process. So if you design anything from software, from a mechanical device, from like a chemical component, from a piece of art, you have to know that it goes full circle these days. You have to think about, how am I going to improve it? How am I going to make it better? How would it stay relevant? Do I need to upgrade, update, adapt new technology? What impact does it have on environment, people, communities? All of this are taken into account. So it's a never-ending circle. It's not like I make this, I build this, excuse me, and it goes on forever. It goes on forever only if you're involved forever. For example, you look at a Tesla, you have the product out there, and it's continuously improving because the software is updating when you're sleeping, okay? So they can troubleshoot, they can stay connected with you. Your car is not obsolete that fast because your car is updated every day. New features are added, and then they collect the data. They have the data set. All the data would be used to improve the product almost in an instant, instantaneously. They are updating their knowledge, so they know more about how many people press the brake, how many cars have faulty cameras, what happened with the processor, and we have like 1.5 million cars. How can we make it better? They are not blind. Everything is updated. And then you have the recyclability. Everybody's now talking about, what am I going to do with the chassis? What am I going to do with the batteries? How am I going to recycle the electronic parts? So from a mechanical actually example, I'm going to jump into something more sophisticated, and that would be for AI, deep learning, neural network. Don't be afraid of it. It's the image recognition and all the algorithms that are behind it. So there are different ways that you put layers, and in order to identify a piece of a picture, then you compare it to many millions of your data set, then you find a pattern, and then you can recognize a person by doing this process billions of times. And that's because of like great computers that we have, and these neurons actually connect with one another and communicate with one another, and then you have like filtrations. Anyhow, it's about like over here, nothing is cast in stone. You can always update your algorithms. You can put more filters, like call it like kernels that you put under the layers. So you program, you tweak it, and how can you improve your basically data set? How can you improve your image processing that it uses less power. You need less powerful computers. These things are important. If you're innovative, you have to be innovative even with something that is at the forefront of innovation. Every minute there is something that you can tweak here and there and just make it better and remove to like for example, with the image recognition, it's not only for intelligence services or for Chinese government to spy on every business and every person walking on the street. You can use this to sort out defects on an assembly line. You can actually use it for recycling trash. When your camera looks at like the conveyor belt, they can know all the defective parts, the different type of trash. Is it aluminum can? Is it plastic? Is it food? And you have to really find out that what is the most efficient way of doing it. Like over here with the conventional machine learning algorithms, probably your efficiency would drop after a while when you are gathering data. With deep learning, which is like another let's say more sophisticated form of machine learning, with those algorithms you can get into a more detailed result, and your efficiency goes higher up. I'm hoping that I try to just put one software example, just shoot another like tangible mechanical device example, and well, you just get out there and start building things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Armenia. I think it was so brief, but we just wanted to show you. Yeah, we just wanted to show you how important innovation is. Okay, so we are getting like very close to the end of our presentation. Okay, I wanted to kind of show you some and introduce you some books that you can get inspired by. Sorry for my camera. I guess it's a little weird now because I lost my phone. One book that I don't know if they have been translated to Farsi or not, but one of them is Business Model Generation, which is great. The other one is the Value Proposition Design, shows you how you can design your value proposition. If you are thinking about your competition and how you can out-compete your competition and put a better product out there, these blue ocean strategies are great books. And then if you want to get inspired by people that already have a business and they have gone through so much hardship and the road is rocky, I told you it's a long and rocky road, but you can get inspired by the people that have done it. So the book on the left, How I Built This, there is actually a podcast as well with the same name, so you can hear so many great stories. And I believe you can do this all by yourself. I have no doubt about your capabilities, but I want to quickly tell you what we do. So we try our best to support you and take the guesswork out of your entrepreneurial journey. And how do we do it? We basically walk you through the same plan as we basically presented. Sorry, I need to have a sip of water. So we will walk you through your research and ideation, and then plan and design together, do the building and testing, and then experimenting and learning. And at the end, when you get to a viable business idea through all these steps, we do the strategic financial planning. Remember, because our background is also in business and finance. So we start with setting SMART goals. If you know the acronym SMART, so you know what I'm talking about: a specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, reliable, and timely. So we set those goals after we get to an idea, and then we look at your cost analysis, we look at your pricing strategies and your revenue model, because every business is just so unique for itself. Like there are so many different business models that you can go about, and at the end we set some key metrics for you to be able to measure your performance and measure your success. because if you don't measure your success, you don't have anything to compare your performance to. So these are the services that we provide to entrepreneurs. And then if you are keen to, if you have a business idea or you are keen to talk to us, you can book your free strategy session, and then we can walk you through all those phases. And then I can't thank you enough for joining us today. So we put together a quick survey. It's only three, four questions. Sina, would you mind if you drop that link into the chat? So we would love to know. Yeah, we would love to know what you think, what you thought about the event. I know it was long, but thank you so much for staying with us. We wanted you to get the best value out of this event and learn as much as possible. And I hope you have achieved that. Thanks a lot.